positivity your way, and hope that your Friday is off to a good start. I typically sleep with my subliminal music on YouTube. I like to listen to Spiritual Mind, so sometimes I will play different music that will help target certain chakra systems within my body, so I can balance myself through the music frequency and energy, and so I can be good to go. That's kind of like my overnight vitamin. As you already know, when you sleep, your body is going through a rejuvenation process. It is breaking down different foods we ate. It is healing, creating cells. So it's when you are trying to balance your chakra system, I feel like that's the best time to listen to it. So when I wake up, I will see a recommended video on my news feed or through the YouTube algorithm, and I ran across this video stating, well, it was Willie D commentary for some type of video put out by this white woman explaining her opinion or her perception on why there's a lot of racist people, or why whites do not like blacks. And so it was very eye-opening, and I really commend her for being very honest and truthful. That's what I'm all about on my channel. And so this is kind of like my thoughts and my take on it. Okay, now I'm not a historian licensed person, but this is like just my observation of the information and education I have studied and heard here and there throughout my life as an adult. Because we already know our education system will not fully reveal all of the truth of what really took place in our history. They will give you their version of what we need to know. All right. But I feel like this. I know that all people are not racist. I do know that. But I also know racism does not only just stem in the white community, but it stems in all cultures. Asian, Mexican, and blacks. How I know? Because I grew up with one, and my grandfather was very, very, very sensitive to dealing with racist. Well, I guess he became racist because the white people became racist towards him. So I guess that's kind of how he developed his feelings and attitude towards that race of people. But so I'm going to try to tread lightly, but also come from two different angles with this topic. I know it's a sensitive topic, especially since there's an increase of young black boys being pretty much taken out for in an injustice way. They're pretty much endangered species. That's just my take on it. But it seems like to me they put out this information about the Moors finding the whites, which they claim the white people are mutant, or they are pretty much a how can I explain this? They are a copy of the Dravidian people, which are tied to the Middle Eastern people. So that's pretty much, they're like the albinos of Middle Eastern people. So that's my understanding. And so when they were found, they were living in a savage way, found in mountains, acting ape-like, doing weird stuff. Cavemen would, be aggressive and take advantage of their women, females. They would sometimes involve and get into cannibalism. They would do all kinds of wild things. So the Moors, I guess, took it upon themselves to civilize those people that were living in the cave. So teaching them how to be clean with hygiene, and teaching them how to have etiquette and all types of things like that. So it just seems to me even though they have been helped by our people, our ancestors, there was still a disconnect. And yes, they show that Moors did have some European slaves. Now, I don't know what type of punishment or type of things they did to the European slaves, but it just seems like we only, when it comes to education and the history of slaves, the focus is more on what Europeans did to Black people. Now, I don't know if they had a different punishment system, but no matter what, slaves were slaves, okay? When we were very well put and we were kings and queens, and I say we were because our ancestors' DNA still connects to us. So whatever they did, whatever they were back in the days, it's still etched in us, okay? We're just more modernized and more programmed to accept a certain system today, based on European power, okay? But it just seems like we did some type of switch where instead of us living in harmony and unity, working together, villages that we created, our indigenous people created, they had their system in one village, maybe a village in Miami, and they were called something else in Miami. And then there was another village in Tampa, and they were called something else, and another village in Jacksonville, and another village in Tallahassee and Appalachian. There were all different types of tribes that existed, but it just seems like as we start to advance and become more powerful, we gave our power away for some type of moral lack. And when I say moral lack, if Tampa people is hating on people in Jacksonville, that is a type of lack for them to feel like they have to be envious of each other. They're both in the same state. This is just a analogy. This is just an example. They're in the same state. They have access to the same type of food, weather, water, but for some type of reason, something was put in place to create the enviness. Now, when I look at Europeans and I'm hearing that they are envious of Blacks because of their skin color, because of their intelligence, because of their essence and their beauty and their powerful body structure, I see it as, okay, we done took over the negativity of European mindset and brought that into our community. So now we have light skin hating on dark skin or hating on each other. We have just a big interruption within our Black community. And then we are trying to get upset with white people because they are treating us differently because of our skin color, when that is exactly what we are copying and mimicking within our community. We are getting mad because, we know that the slave owners took advantage of the young girls, or, they were petties and doing all types of rape things and stuff like that. But we still have that same type of behavior going on in a lot of these Black communities, Black households, within our own family. It's really, really sickening and very disturbing to me. And this is not about me really focusing on all the bad things that the Black race people are doing, but it's also just bringing awareness like, okay, they are more unified because if they can come together, especially KKK, if they know how to come together, network, and plan and plot on how to secretly take out our beautiful brown boys, Black boys and brown boys and babies in a unified way, knowing how to go all the way up to the higher ups, tamper with evidence, pay them to be quiet, and they all move on about their lives like nothing ever happened, or well, we just lost another puppy type of mentality. What make you think being divided and only coming together during a funeral or a protest and then you go home and go to sleep, that's gonna make a difference? Like, You still support the music industry that talk about degrading black women and black men. Now that we have this, what is it called, sexy red, infecting people and being okay with talking about how she's doing it and putting out music to make young girls think that's okay. It's like, what is going on in our society? Because it's like we're supporting negativity, but we okay with it from certain people. Like, we got Europeans, they have their religion in their church. We have African Americans, they have their religion in their church. They're still going to pray to the same God for their own particular reason. But we come out, we live in the same country, we say we love this land, this is our home, but we can't even act like normal, healthy-minded people on the same soil of the United States. So I'm just trying to figure it out. It's like, I know that racism is not okay. That is not a natural way of being. Okay, I know that it has to be taught, but DNA is not taught. What is passed down through your DNA and your gene, that is who you are. There are many black people walking around angry for, they don't even know why, but it could be because of the mistreatment of racism from their great grandparents, or maybe their ancestors losing their land, or being whipped, or watching their cousins and family members being lynched. Those are things that stays within our DNA. It causes a certain type of distress. And if you don't believe me, Dr. Joy, she talks a lot about it. If you can go research her, she has a lot of great information on the psychological and scientific studies on what happens when a race of people experience a high traumatic event and how their body responds to it, even after the event is over. So when you have a race of people that's feeling a certain type of way, and they're still in survival mode and still competing to fit in a system that was not even made for you to fit in. If you look at the video from Willie D, you will hear the white woman say that they designed the system for black people to stay in a certain bracket, meaning they'll never let a black person excel above them. They have certain jobs or certain things put in place by design. They want to use teachers to educate the Europeans. They don't mind that, because then now the Europeans have the same mindset and the knowledge to be able to always outsmart the black folks that's still stuck in this divided mentality and entertained by the ridiculous lyrics that is being put out there by the Europeans for us to stay beneath them, because they believe in chaos versus order. They create the chaos. They know how to create the wars. They know how to create disasters, viruses in labs. They know how to create weapons. They know how to create the drugs. So they create the chaos, put it in our community. And if the Europeans get a taste of it too, that's because maybe they're not with the royal people, or they're not a part of their bloodline. And so now you got a whole lot of chaos going on in our communities. And then they come in and say, oh, we know how to solve this. Oh, we have the cure for AIDS and cancer and all the viruses that we put out. You just got to bow down to us. Oh, we know how to stop the crimes in the neighborhood. You just got to do us a favor so we can create the order. You see how that BS works? This is what's been going on across the world for many, many, many centuries. And when we find out a black person have been murdered and not been, the crime haven't been justified, we're still in a shock. But this been going on for years. This is kind of when I had to wake up. Let me tell you one day when I had to really wake up about the color situation that's going on in our society. I was bullied by both blacks and whites as I was, going through my school years. I've had the opportunity to be friends with both parties. However, one party was more aggressive than the other. And guess who it was? It was the black folks. So I dealt with bullying with, people teasing me because I didn't have certain things. If I was to speak up and stand up for myself, then they want to beat me up because I wanted them to leave me alone. So that's the type of bullying I had to deal with, right? Where they can get all their friends that's in the clique to join in with them and bully me. Okay, so I have been spit on, punched, essayed, all types of things by my own people. Okay, so when I look at the European way of bullying, there was once a situation where I was new to a school in Green Cove Springs, a little small town outside of Duval County, and though the white girl was pretty much off to herself, she was overweight, so she didn't really feel like she fit in with her own kind or the black folks. And so she decided to get to know me, and we started to hang out. We lived in the same community, and it was all well and good. I said, okay, cool. She was the first one to welcome me in because all the other black kids didn't like me because they felt like I was better, or I don't know. They had this type of mentality that, oh, she from Miami, so whatever they heard about Miami, they automatically put that stigma on me. And so the white girl was like, well, good. I got somebody to hang out with, even though I don't want to hang out with this black girl, but at least she's accepting me because I do look different. I am overweight, and she's not picking on me about that. So one particular day we were standing together, waiting for the buses to pull up at the school. And the school had like a little walkway, but on both sides of the walkway, they planted some type of berry bush. And the bush had very sharp leaves, like they were very thorn-like. And so when I would be standing there, or sometimes I'll be, doing something, there's another black group of girls that didn't like me, but didn't like the white girl either. And they would sneak up behind her and push her over into the thorn bushes. And it was happening often. And at first I really couldn't tell who it was, but eventually I was able to find out it was like 2 or 3 black girls. And we were all in the same age group. And so one day I just got tired of pulling, because I was the one that would help the white girl come out of the bushes and help, clean her off and stuff like that when she would be crying, and I tried to console her. And so eventually I said, look, you got to be aware of your surroundings. You need to stand up to those girls, because I got tired of it, because they knew I was a fighter. I was quiet, but the minute they was to push me, that we were all going to be in the bushes together. That's how it was going to go down. And so the white girl finally got mad and brave enough, and she went and told the front office. But then the front office called the girls in, and then I don't know, I guess they got a consequence for that. But eventually the girls came around in my neighborhood one Saturday morning, and they ended up having the white girl walking with them. So I'm like, this is interesting. And so the white girl comes and knock on my door, and she was like, can you come outside? I need to talk to you about something. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll come outside. And so they get me, she told me to meet her at the bus stop. So I went all over, because it's it's like less than a block away from my house. So I go over there to the bus stop, and the black girl sitting on sitting on a bench. And so the white girl comes up to my face, and she was like, I found out you was the one that pushed me in the bushes. And I'm like, how in the hell? I was the one that told you to stand up for yourself. I was the one that told you who pushed you in the bush. So she refused to listen to me. And this girl started yelling at me to the point where she was spitting in my face. And of course, that's, to me, that was a lick. That to me, when you talking hard enough to where all of your spit fall in my face, we gonna throw down, because there's no way you gonna think that you gonna disrespect me, and I'm trying to back you up and take up for you, and then you dropping some of your bodily fluid on. Nah, we ain't on that. So it did go down, and I made sure it went down. And it went down so bad to where the black girls were afraid, because I thought they were going to jump in, but they ended up taking off running. And so the girl went and ran into the house, and she was like, I'm going to go get my nigger knocker. I'm going to get my nigger knocker for you, nigger. Now all of a sudden I'm a nigger. So I knew from that day on, I had to be very cautious and very aware of the type of personalities that exist in the world. And I had to learn that early on. I was in middle school when that happened. 6th grade. I remember that very well. And so as I continue to go and grow on about my life, I did notice that, see, white people are not as like, they're not outwardly aggressive. They know how to be very mental, and they know how to use their words, their spell, to get in our head to make us think one thing when they are plotting to do another. So as I went on, like I said, I've worked in different school settings because that's the kind of career I decided to go after. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I was very confident and very passionate about educating others with the knowledge that I know. And I started learning a lot of stuff early on, especially about morals, about respect, about trust. So that's something that, I just showed interest in. And so as, like, there are other stories that I can share that I experienced a lot of hidden racism. And it's like, when I work for a particular school, it's like, yes, they want me there. They appreciate me having my credentials, but they don't appreciate who I am. So and then on top of that, they prefer to put certain responsibilities off on us. Like, they don't want to deal with ghetto at-risk children because that's a headache. They don't want to try to figure out if they mama been in jail, or they daddy been beating on their mama, or somebody been a petty in their household. They just want, okay, you're frustrated. No, the children are frustrated. They don't want to learn. So let somebody else that look like them deal with them. So they okay with that. They don't want to deal with that. But it's like, when I come into a school and I notice that there's some type of division within the expectations with ESE students, especially if they're African American versus white people, and how the white people are treated a little differently. They get a little bit more leeway. They get answers when they're not supposed to get answers on tests. That's when I'm like, oh, wait a minute. If we're going to give one person the answer, we need to give everybody else the answer. But then they don't want that. So when I come in, this is what I'm noticing. Even when I used to work at another school, I think I spoke about this on a video from last year, where when I came in, I was supposed to co-teach with this white woman, but she was very old. Looked like she was born in more of the 70s. And no, she was way older than that. She was more like, looked like she was still stuck in the ways of the Jim Crow era. And so she comes to me and tells me, because I said, is there anything I can do to assist with, your paperwork, or anything that we can do to kind of plan? She was like, the only thing I need you to do is keep my tables clean and keep the kids from fighting. I'm like, the fuck? I said, I went to school. I got a degree to do this job. And you're telling me all you want me to do is follow you like a puppy and wipe and keep your tables clean? And I'm like, this is not, that time frame is over. Now, I don't mind helping out if we're doing the same job. Like, okay, you cleaning the room, I'm cleaning this part of the room. Now, I'm cool with that. But I do not need nobody trying to make me be their secret little hidden slave. I'm not, it ain't gonna work like that. And so, one day she got upset with me because I spoke up about how she's not being fair. She's trying to, trying to outcast me or treat me different. And then she'll go with her other teacher cliques, and then they all befriend each other. And then when I go and talk to the supervisor about it, the supervisor's like, well, she is stuck in her ways. Just be patient. Try to work with her. I'm like, how in the world I'm gonna work with somebody that don't want to work with me? So she already was telling me she favored the lady in her behavior because she wasn't even trying to correct her. And so one day I left my apple sitting on the counter in a way where, no, it shouldn't be touched. Nobody shouldn't touch it. No other kids was around it. But when that white woman walked by, she knocked my stuff onto the ground. And I'm like, no, I did not see her do it. But I just know that when I was standing nearby, and I know nobody else was over there but that teacher, how all of a sudden my stuff ended up on the floor. So to me, I felt like she really was racist and did not like me because of who I was and what I had and stuff like that, because at the time she was still trying to finish school. She couldn't, something about her paperwork was not valid. But then again, that was the one that I found out that kind of rigged up her information, and she wasn't even supposed to be in the school at all. Anyway, as I move on, we're all going to eventually experience racism, whether it's with our own race or whether it's with a different color race. And no matter how much we try to preach about Black Lives Matter, how much we try to march and remember Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, that is a DNA type of thing. No matter how much I try to hug my students that's going through it, whether they're Black or white, at the end of the day, if they are feeling that DNA mind start to act up where they are upset with a Black person, or they are not liking certain, it will show. It will show. No matter how much you try to teach them about unity, respecting each other's background and race, if they are, I don't care how much they love on a Black person, if they get upset, they will, that's the first thing that come out their mind is, you are a nigger. And how I know? Because I've seen the students do it. I've seen an interracial couple, even though they were little children, but an interracial couple, the white girl got upset with the Black boy and called him a black monkey, and then the black boy called her a cracker, and then that's when she went in and started pulling out the nigger word, pulling that out the hat. So it's like, I feel like it's just DNA, and the sad part about it is we have picked up a lot of their negativity, a lot of their mindset of competition and being being greedy and knocking another person down to climb up the ladder and taking advantage of people's bodies. That's why I'm very, very big on how men treat, especially our Black men, how they are being raised without being balanced. And then they come out into our society thinking that, okay, well, since my daddy wasn't there for me, and maybe because he probably think mama ran daddy away, he doesn't really have the respect for women like he should. Or he's too feminine. He's trying to be like a woman. So it's like, it's always an imbalance when it comes down to the Black men in our society. And so then the respect for Black women start to get bad and worse. And then now we have women that's being used for their money, used for their bodies, laughed at, mind gamed, and all of that shit. And then on the other hand, they're saying, okay, well, white men treat the Black women differently. That's because it is designed for I feel like an agenda. I feel like it's a point that's trying to be made. And rather, I don't know. To me, it's always a struggle no matter what. Because if you are trying to be accepted by a white family and be with, someone, there's an agenda. Rather, they're hoping that, okay, well, good. We know that our bloodline can continue on, where we know that we are more, we can connect with that melanin. We can have that in our bloodline to where we can continue on no matter what happens to us. Or we are able to sustain the stressors of the sun and the earth through our bloodline, because they have, a little bit of that melanin. Okay, so no matter what, however we look at it, it's just what the days and time that we're living in. I just feel like educating, no matter what, it's not funny, but no matter how much you educate these children about bullying, if they have been bullied because of competition, because other kids feel like, well, your mama don't have what my mama had, or no matter what, that's still creating division. That's because the Europeans put things in place to make it seem like, oh, well, we got access to this because we probably murdered a group of people to get to it, but we got access to this and y'all don't have access to it. So that's already creating the division in the higher up. Then they have entertainers bragging about, oh, they got access to this, they got access to that, or they're doing certain favors because they sold their souls to the higher ups. And now there's a competition, because now the lower Black class people thinking, oh, I want to be just like the rappers, I want to be like the singers, the actors, I want to look like them. And so now they're competing and knocking the other people down to get to the higher up. So this is, to me, more than just a race thing. Like I was told, or like I heard, when the Moors would rape and sleep and, plant seeds in the white women, they would raise their children up to be for them and their race, not for the Black race. So I know a lot of black kids that's mulatto. They are trying to figure out where to fit in at and where to get in at, or they know how to use their color to benefit them. Rather they know how to play the white role just to get special privileges, or rather they want to fit in and not be beat up on by the black kids, and they got to fit in with that group of people. I've seen all of it. I've seen all of it come through all the classrooms I've worked at. Even if it was, like I said, in Tampa classroom, Jacksonville classroom, Tallahassee classroom, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is just a system that's been put in place. And like I said, we can cry over every black kid that have been unfairly, tortured and murdered. But if this system is very strong and set in place with certain groups of people, it's almost like it's just another death and another day. And it's going to continue on as long as we are divided and fighting for what they created. And as long as we try to kiss ass to fit in their system, we're going to always be beneath them. And that's just the sad reality of our society. So keep your head up. Try to stay as positive as you can. Watch your back. And I love you. And until next time, we'll talk again.